Hi there. Today is Careers Q&A Day, where Zoe and I give you some personal attention.
Today's question from Josh taps into something that a lot of people are quietly wondering right now, and it's this. How can I save my career from falling off an AI cliff? And you can almost hear the anxiety in that question, the sense that things are changing quickly and maybe faster than we can keep up. With AI reshaping roles, automating tasks, and changing what organizations need, it's easy to start wondering, where does that leave me? So let's talk about that.
So what a great phrase, falling off an AI cliff. Whoa.
Help me!
Oops. It sounds like something sudden and catastrophic. And it sounds like even just that metaphor is probably a cause for a deep level of anxiety. The idea that, one day you're relevant and you're somebody and your skills are worth something, and then the next day you're absolutely not. I mean, in reality, careers don't usually fall off a cliff that swiftly. They tend to offer a number of rubble underneath your feet warning signs. And those warning signs will keep arising and give you information that you want to pay attention to in terms of how your role is changing. And you haven't told us what your role is, what field you're in, but there have been a number of, landslides recently in terms of a number of different industries, in tech, in creative, in some aspects of kind of finance and professional services. So I don't want to minimize. I think you're right to be concerned and to be scanning the horizon and to be asking the right question, which is, how is AI going to impact the world of work? And how is it going to impact me? And how do I stay ahead of that or aligned with that? So a lot of the time, AI isn't just sort of taking wholesale replacing a job. It's more like, that's a bit too simplistic. It's more like it's replacing how some of the work has been getting done. So it's automating repetitive tasks. It is automating predictable processes. It is taking some of the analysis, the sort of baseline analysis of data, and doing it more speedily. Or it is taking over parts of roles that are more rule-based and structured, so therefore can be given as an instruction to an artificial intelligence. But at the same time, it's also increasing the value of things like discernment and judgment, creativity, accuracy, communication of ideas, and perhaps most relevantly to the discussion we're having now, adaptability. So the question isn't so much will AI replace me as an individual? It's more like, what parts of my job are likely to be replaced and which parts are becoming more valuable that I can really start to invest my attention in and lean into, including potentially the collaboration with AI, the use of AI to do your work with more speed and to capitalize on having more time to do some of the things that AI cannot do.
Yeah, and I think there are, genuine risks to AI that many of us are concerned about. I know I am. And that's often more the concern and worries about the morals, the values, the human engineering, the good versus evil potential in the setup of the tech. So it's not necessarily, I don't think, the tech itself and what it can potentially do for it. It's about who is building that and what are the parameters and the safety rails and things that are being put in around it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think one of the risks for us personally is about that sort of in the changing world of work is our own futures within that. And, that not staying static while everything else sort of moves on and feeling like left behind, that you didn't get on the bus, if you like, and you missed your opportunity. And I think we know from human history that those people who struggle most in periods of change aren't the least capable at all. They're probably more than just the least adaptable that struggle with that change. It's not about capability, about awareness, I think, at this stage, that we need to create our own internal awareness of what's happening, as you said, like what's happening in the world of work around me and what's happening, therefore, to me and the role and my life and the work that I do. Because the danger, if you don't notice how your role is evolving, then there is a chance that you're not going to get on the bus. You're going to miss the bus and the opportunity to kind of move with it.
Yeah. And I think especially for those entering the workplace for the first time, this presents some particular problems because when you're first training, you often are doing the kind of rote or simpler tasks to build up your awareness and understanding. So it's particularly challenging if you haven't got a lot of experience of the world of work already to draw on to see what's evolving and changing. So I do hear the anxiety. So let's look at a few practical tips, whatever stage and age you are at. Get close to the change, like don't avoid it. The worst thing you can do with AI is if it is impacting your industry, and it is in almost everyone, is to ignore it. You don't need to become an expert, but you do need to understand how it's showing up in your world. So what tools are being used within your organization, whether it's as simple as an AI note taker on your meetings or as sophisticated as a particular tool for trading or CAD design or the complex elements of the work you're doing. And then which parts of my role could it support or replace? Like, how can I get involved with making use of those tools to understand where they might play a part in the work that I'm doing now, or even in time do some of the work that I'm doing now? And then where could it actually make me personally better, faster, more effective? And then which are the bits really that can't be done without your human form? Because my bet is that those elements of who you are and how you think and how you show up are going to become more and more valuable. So leaning into your expertise in those fields as well.
Yeah. So number 2 then is get curious about it and build a bit of AI literacy, but in sort of small and manageable ways. And I think I certainly can see when you start dipping your toe in the water, it's easy, isn't it, to become completely overwhelmed by AI that's out there and the vast numbers of platforms and things. But I think staying relevant doesn't mean you've got to go back to school and you've got to become some kind of like AI engineer overnight. It just starts with a little bit of curiosity and some small sort of consistent steps. So I think one of the most valuable things you can build right now is just your understanding of what these tools can do and where they might be useful to you and where they might not, because not all of them are going to be applicable to you in the work or the role that you do. The good news is that there are some really practical and accessible ways to do this. I know for a start, there's platforms like iv.jobs, that's IVEE.jobs. And they really focus on helping individuals understand which AI skills actually matter in the real job market, and then give you targeted ways to start building those skills. And I know they're also working with organizations and helping employers think about how they can equip their people with this shift. So that's one place I would say it's worth having a look at. There's lots of information on their website. So I think if you're, thinking about this from a leader perspective, if you're listening to this and wondering, how do we support our teams through this? That kind of approach can be really valuable to see, well, what organizations are there that can support us to upskill and train our people. But alongside those things, there's also lots of things like short courses on LinkedIn Learning, practical kind of tutorials on YouTube, or, you just start experimenting. I think that's probably how you and I both started, Erica, wasn't it? In terms of experimenting a little bit with ChatGPT or Claude or whichever is your sort of preferred option, and just see how it can maybe support some simple day-to-day tasks and work. You definitely don't need a formal program. You just need to sort of start engaging and maybe set aside an hour or two in your week to explore, what could this tool do for me? Where could it save me time? What do I not understand about this thing yet? And that will start, I think, to open your eyes and build a little bit of confidence.
Yeah. And lastly, I would just say, just keep evolving your career story. One of the biggest risks is that you are potentially defining yourself too narrowly by the job title and what you do as a result of that. Because if that job title changes, it can feel like your whole identity is going to be under siege. So instead, start thinking about your career story in relation to your design. That's the sort of principle of the equation, really. It's about understanding your design. What are your skills? What are your strengths? What are the kinds of problems that you solve? And you may be using AI to support you in doing that, but just keep updating that story as things evolve, really staying clear about the value that you bring rather than worrying about the obsolescence of a particular job title.
Yeah, I think it's also worth saying and reminding ourselves that every major shift in work has created some kind of anxiety of some sort. And while some roles do disappear and do change and will continue to do so, new ones do emerge out of that. There are new births of new things that we can do, and existing ones will evolve. So to Erica's point, the closer you get to understand your unique design, as things shift and emerge and change, you'll be able to see, where and how you align. So it isn't about panicking and hiding. It's definitely, I think, more about, roll up the old sleeves of curiosity, dip your toe in a bit of AI water, and utilize lots of free learning and resources that are out there that can really help you to adapt and make choices that align with what matters most to you and the work that you want to do. So yeah, it's about participation and definitely not avoidance.
Yeah, and the mindset of curiosity is really, really important. Nothing good happens when we enter sort of fight or flight and overwhelm. So really try to stay open and grounded and curious. I'm not minimizing, because I do think, as a careers expert and a social historian, that AI is going to be phenomenally disruptive to the world of work. And so I think that it is a really good opportunity to keep thinking ahead and to reposition how you think about yourself, not as role, as job title, but as what is your design and how might that design adapt and be useful for the environments that you are in, and also lean into your humanness and your physicality. So what aspects of the work that you do and the way that you create value are about being a person, in person, personally with others, and using those kind of higher functions of discernment, judgment, creativity, analytics, critical thinking, continuing to really evolve those skill sets, because those are not going to become obsolete anytime soon. So keep moving from fear to curiosity, keep moving from avoidance to engagement, keep your feet on the ground, and know that there will be a place for you to thrive in this next phase of work. We just are going to have a fairly rumble tumble process of discovering what those all look and feel like. So, but for sure, the ones who resist a change and kind of kept the head in the sand around it, they'll be the ones who are really going to be struggling. So learn how to work alongside it, learn how to think about your own design and specificity in valuable ways, and just take a deep breath, keep calm, carry on. And we will keep you posted on all of our thoughts and updates in this space as well.
Keep calm and carry on. The British way. So remember also to keep sending in your career related questions. You can record an audio. We love getting a little audios, don't we, Erica? Or you can simply type it and send us a text version. We don't mind. You can keep it anonymous. Just use your first name. Kind of nice to know what sort of industry or type of role you might be in or organization, but you can keep it anonymous. Send them in to pod@thecareerequation.com, and we look forward to reading them.
And, if you want to check in for a conversation about your own career, about how AI is disrupting your industry, about how you start career conversations in an age of uncertainty, you know where we are. Come and find us at thecareerequation.com, book in for a career audit call, and we'd be delighted to explore with you what the next chapter of the fourth industrial revolution is going to bring and how best we can support you. Thanks for your time.
Take care.